Hello everybody, welcome back. It's your boy Lmacncheese, and today I have a video about soulframe, and it's kind of a weird title. And no, D doesn't actually hate soulframe, but apparently says here in an interview at some point they said, which is the title of the video, is Digital Extreme CEO says putting soul in the title was an idiotic decision. Now we're going to talk about that. Before getting into the article, I want to think on what it says, and what I think it means is because the word soul, and if you're any part of a gamer these days, I'm not saying you're not a gamer if you don't play those kind of games, but if you've played Soul, I said Soul Frame. If you play Dark Souls of any kind, that word souls is attached to a lot of things. There's a lot of meaning to it. It's like calling somebody a savage. There's a lot of meaning behind that word, and a lot of meanings about the word. So it's just like you see that word soul, and you see Soul Frame, if you played Warframe, be like, oh, is Soulframe or Warframe making a Souls-like game? And it's kind of like the first thing your mind probably snaps to is when you hear that kind of word. Or Souls-like is kind of what just, in this modern day and age, just kind of how it is. And that's another help that the game also kind of performs like a Souls game. It has, I'm really, my definition of a Souls game is kind of different, but if you're going by the generic, how everybody sees it, has dodge rolls, consumables, you level up kind of thing. You have like rest spots and whatnot, I guess. But Soulframe isn't exactly a Souls game. It has like Souls-like mechanics in the kind of game. You have your parrying, your blocking, have your dodge rolling, you have consumables and stuff like that. But to me, a Souls game is much more than mechanic. It's more lore based. It's more how they narrate their story and kind of do things. Like in Dark Souls, the story is kind of like left to you to figure it out. You kind of got to go through your paces, figure things out as you go. You get items, you got to read descriptions to find out how things really go. There's a lot of lore here and there, a lot of like, it's very discovery based kind of thing, versus if you play something like God of War, things like presented to you in side quests and the main story and stuff like that. But in the Souls game, it's just like everything's scattered. So you have a piece, you have like kind of like puzzle everything together, find all the pieces, and then you kind of fully get what you're getting. To me, when you say a Souls-like game or a Souls game, that's something of is like this. I'm thinking of more of the lore element, how the story is presented to you, not a combat sense. Because rolling and blocking, parrying is anything new. Like another comparison is the Neo series, Team Ninja. They also make my favorite series of all time. Well, not all time, but it's up there. My top 5, top 10 games. And people call their Neo games Souls-like because essentially you have bonfires, you level up, and you have stats. I'm like, no. And I'll die on this hill. It's more akin to a Gaiden. Also, like if you play like the first Bear Kazan, they're more akin to Gaiden games, so they're a lot more action oriented. You're not just pressing one button all the time. You're doing a lot of different things, combos, placements, magic, and it's all seamless. And like how slow it is in Souls games and stuff like that. So that's a whole other tangent about another different thing. But that's kind of what this I want to going into this article. So let's just get this article by Wesley LeBlanc on April 15th, which is I think that's yesterday. So, love it or hate it, the word soul is quite synonymous with From Software, as I was just saying. While that Demon Souls, Dark Souls is, other challenging action games like Bloodborne and Elden Ring, you got that wrong, or the Souls-like genre the studio inspired. So it's no surprise that some players expect the Soulframe to feature gameplay reminiscent of a Souls-like, and I've said this already. After playing the game for several hours myself, and if you're a Game Informer subscriber, which I hope nobody is, you'll be receiving a Soulframe who's code to check out for yourself too. That's nice of them. That's nice. 2, I can confidently say that while there's a slight tinge on the Souls-like feel when it places it in the Souls-like subgenre of action games. Okay, maybe this article's cooking right now. The Extreme doesn't admonish anybody who sees a slower, more deliberate fantasy RPG action game with soul in the title and assumes it's in the ilk of From Software games, though. And I get that, but don't be dumb. Don't just think of that Souls name. It's gonna be it's the same thing. Like Soulframe is trying to do something entirely different, and it just happens to have some mechanics from the most popular game series, one of the most popular game series going on right now. So, and also on top of that, let me know if you were to change the game from Soulframe to something else. What would you name it? I remember maybe like Nature Frame. Nah, that's too on the nose. Green frame, something magic frame, something like that. Something, because they're going for like a D&D adventure kind of thing. Something Celtic would be in the world. Something. A nice name change would be kind of cool to do if they do that. So made the decision to put soul in the title, right? The Extreme CEO Stephen Clare, that's the homie, tells me in the studio's dev stream recording space during my visit to Soulframe cover story and the main issue of Game Informer. I wish I could visit that place. Yeah, it's stupid. We invited the criticism, absolutely, but the souls is supposed to be more about the literal soul its characters in the world, that's very true. It's very literal soul, like there's so much in there. So criticism Sinclair is referencing is initial response to Soulframe's combat when players first jumped into preludes. He says the team used to use too much of Warframe's system for Soulframe's combat. A smart and iterative idea in theory, but one that doesn't work as well because the latter is a much slower system than the former. And that is a thing they're trying to do, to try to really break up the game and make it different from their brother game, which is, what you're supposed to do. So when an enemy is lasting 15 to 20 seconds on the screen instead of like in Warframe, you see everything. Sinclair says that foot slide there, the character doesn't have a good hit reaction when he falls, his head clips to the geometry and all this stuff, which is stuff they're getting into. The team responded by working combat and believing the community would agree it's in a much better place today, and it damn sure is. Even back then, I'm a D stand, but I'm not a blind buffoon, so I was saying, like, it may look bad now, but let them cook. And cook they have. And cook they will continue to do. People definitely love the vibes and the story we were telling. Yes, we do. But yes, mechanically, we just missed the mark. And I think it was a lesson learned and a failure in our messaging because we probably didn't elaborate enough on the title of the game. Soulframe creative director and former Warframe art and animation director Geoff Crook says, my man Geoff, today's Soulframe is more responsive to your real-time inputs, in stark contrast to the typical animation frame-based combat of Souls-likes. All this stuff which FromSoft Aware has been working on for 2 decades. We're trying to do this in 2 years and it didn't work, Sinclair adds. Yeah, you need time to cook with animations to get things right. So that's the early build of the game. Speaking of the Soulframe lead designer Scott McGregor in a different interview, he tells me the first iteration of early access combat for the game wasn't good enough, but notes the preludes and the founders program are about finding out what works and what doesn't, and addressing it alongside the community actually playing the game. Warframe's combat from where it started to where it is today is radically different. It is really different. And I think Soulframe will be a continuing evolution of that core loop, Grounded says. We'll be continually refining it and making it tighter. And I think you can already see that almost on the daily. You do. You do. I need to do more videos on what's kind of going on in the forums and whatnot. But mostly we see it always in a large scale in the dev streams, which are always fantastic to watch. Soulframe low designer Penny Shannon, I never had low designer, I haven't even met this person or heard him before. CD% says, I think it's really down to being okay with the fact that you're going to have to change something that you've done, and I'm really proud of it, and be okay with that. Understandable. Well, Soulframe Preludes continuing today, the game will continue to evolve based on the intersection of the Extreme's vision and desires of its active player base. If you subscribe to Game Informer before April 22nd, you can be a part of that because you will receive a Soulframe Preludes code to check out that in game. More information about codes will be found here from exclusive Soulframe site. Head to the hub here. All right. And this was this show off this magazine. I think it was one of my thumbnails is really cool too. But yeah. Like I said, the word soul comes with a lot of different meanings and stuff like that, and D definitely wasn't trying to lean into any it's a good marketing strat to be like, put soul in the name. People are like, oh, soul, Dark Souls, Frame, Dark Souls Warfare, and they'll instantly make that connection, and then bam, so not that D needed any publicity or any help promoting their own game, because Warframe is like a really popular free-to-play game in its own right. So it's just comes to the territory. Now, I guess I don't know what I would name the game if they did change the name of the game. Like I said, Soulframe still does fit really well with it because the game is very much more spiritual. There's a lot of family ancestry going on, corruption and redemption, all things of the soul, even like your stats and stuff like that. So it's like, honestly, I'm fine with Soulframe. and I've been kind of saying it for too long to stop now. So, but if they change anything else, as long as it fits, it fits. But soulframe to me fits perfectly fine. So, this article interview is really interesting because you don't really hear things like that. Like, oh, the name of my game is stupid, like, and Steve himself, great guy. I love Steve. I actually met the guy, but from what I've seen, he's a great guy. So him saying that and how goofy he is and laid back about things, he's really, he thinks a lot about things. He thinks a lot about these things, analytics and stuff like that. He thinks about that a lot. He's just like, it's kind of dumb. Don't you think? He probably walked into somebody's office and just said to somebody like, "Don't you think Soulframe is a dumb name?" And I bet he probably just like leaned in the door. It's like, I think it's a dumb name, and he's just like, well, what can you do now? So, yeah, it was kind of cool to kind of get this insight on what they're kind of thinking about because we don't always hear these kind of things from anybody really. So, yeah. Other than that, I think that's it for this article. Tell me what you think in the comment section, and we'll have a discussion about it. Anyways, I'm gonna take it easy.